Christ seems super nice. I wonder if you saved me.
Anyway, so Ethan and I are going to try making a podcast. Decided to name it E2E because both of our names start with E, and I'm horrifically unclever. So.
Actually, I kind of like that. I wouldn't know about that.
Well, I got the idea from my dog.
The dog is pretty smart.
Yeah. Figured out the leash thing pretty good. Anyway, so recently Ethan watched one of my all-time favorite comic books.
Which I'm surprised I had not seen before.
Yeah, The Dark Knight Returns, not to be confused with The Dark Knight Rises.
No, very different feels.
Yeah, a lot more disappointing.
I think I had seen some clips of it on like random YouTube or Facebook videos before, and I was like, oh, this looks like a cool Batman movie. I should probably watch that. And then I never did. And then you suggested it.
Rises or Returns?
Returns.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, so for those of you who don't know, all the two people, probably my mom and dad, who are listening to this, Dark Knight Returns takes place in the very futuristic years in the future of the 1980s, where Batman has become an aged, retired crime fighter and is no longer. It starts with the Caped Crusader retired, and
which does not last very long.
No, because the Batman can't not be Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's more Batman than Superman is Superman. And here's why. Because Superman didn't choose to be Superman.
That's true.
It wasn't a conscious decision, so...
he was kind of born into it. Although, in this version, he seemed to really be playing the part as much as he could.
Yeah. Well, he was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah, I mean, in spite of what Bill says in Kill Bill, there's an insanity. And the thing I really dig about Dark Knight Returns, which I feel like they failed... Two things I think they failed with the Christian Bale, Chris Nolan, the Chris Batman movies.
Yeah.
One, Batman is fucking huge, and that's something that the movies have never gotten right until Affleck, which I haven't actually seen Batman v Superman or Justice League.
Okay, well, you don't need to see Batman v Superman, but I think Justice League, he did a better job as Batman.
Was it good?
I liked it. I didn't love it, but I think for once they finally did a superhero movie where they were just true to themselves and just did a superhero movie. They fight the bad guy, the good guys win, you feel good at the end. They don't need to do a whole lot of backstory, which they didn't touch on a lot of backstory, which is great. They just did, here are the superheroes doing their superhero thing.
Fuck.
The plot was a little predictable, but, it was still, I had a good time.
So the good guys win?
Yeah, good guys win.
Okay. Because the best review I heard of it, and I mean, this is actually sort of a ringing endorsement for me, it was better than Suicide Squad.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
but that's not a really high bar. Neither is Batman vs. Superman. DC has not been doing really great with movies lately, but I think that this one was a big step forward.
I feel like it's really popular in nerddom to hate on DC right now, and rightfully so. I mean, I think the problem was the first three Batman, and I say the first three Batman movies, completely discarding the Schumacher ones or the, what's his name?
Adam West or...
Adam West or the...
Val Kilmer.
Yeah, no, those are the Schumacher ones. But one thing I will give to the credit of the Schumacher Batman movies was that Schumacher fully accepted all responsibility in the fact that those were complete pieces of shit.
I think the George Clooney one is really underrated.
Well, if you listen to the audio commentary, it's basically like an hour and 45 minutes of Schumacher going, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. This is... I really dropped the
Batman
ball.
Forever, I think, as a kid, I loved it, but rewatching it, I just...
it's horrible.
It's not good.
Bat nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave him bat nipples.
And, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Oh, but the one-liners, though.
But they're so Arnold. They're so what you expect from Arnold. It's
Have you ever watched any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with the commentary on?
No.
Oh, my God, it's fucking great. There should be a Arnold Schwarzenegger doing commentary on his own commentary, because literally all he does is he talks about... I heard it at one of those crack videos, but all he does is basically talk about the movie like it was a fifth grader, like a second grader trying to explain the movie to his parents on the ride home from school.
Oh, no.
He's like, and in this scene, I am fighting. This is the part where I fight the bad guy. And then we have this scene, I'm here with Sigourney Weaver, and we're fighting, and this is the part where I break the thing on his head. And
it sounds like my 2-year-old nephew trying to describe a movie that we're watching. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. But anyway, I digress. The things they got wrong about the Chris Batmans was he's too small, and in Dark Knight Returns he's a fucking behemoth, and so is Ben Affleck. So my credit to Ben Affleck for being big and reluctantly in those movies. And number two, they really capture the fact that Bruce Wayne and Batman are fucking crazy. Like, they're not sane individuals. And I feel like I loved Christopher Nolan movies. Don't get me wrong. They're amazing. I think they're the best work of I don't even categorize them as superhero movies. They're just movies that happen to feature a guy in a suit beating up.
But Bruce Wayne is very level-headed in those movies.
Yeah.
He's a little bit like on the edge because obviously he's still a vigilante, but...
He's just sort of emo. He's just like,
yeah,
I have to do this. He's basically similar to the character he plays in The Big Short, where it's like an autistic dude who knows better than most of society trying to correct the world. Anyway...
I think the only thing I did not like about those movies, and it really only applies to the second two, was his voice. Because in Batman Begins is one of my all-time favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do the voice too crazy.
Where is he?
He has a slightly lower voice, and it's like, okay, is that kind of spooky?
Yeah.
But then for some reason, in the second, he decides to kick it up to just like this
just full
comical, like now it's like parodied in so many things, like college humor, like P. Holmes parodies it in such a way. It's just like, what are you doing, man? But yeah, I think the Christopher Nolan movies are their own separate category of Batman movies. They're not.
Yeah, they gave Batman more lines in the second two, where he's Batman more. Like the first one was him figuring out how to be Batman, so he didn't have to use the voice as much.
Yeah.
Then the second two, it's like he's already Batman, and nobody wants to fucking see Bruce Wayne. It's boring. We'll watch Wolf of Wall Street if we want to see that shit. So he had to do the voice a lot more. So I get it.
Also, favorite part of those two movies is since the whole first movie was just his origin, we didn't have to see his parents die again in the second two movies, which I think may be the only two Batman movies where we don't see Bruce Wayne's parents die.
It's almost like if Batman was real and on set, he would say to every director, he's like, so what's the part where my parents die? Bruce, we already covered that in the last movie. Oh.
Have you seen the Lego Batman movie, though?
I saw it with you.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
That was great, because it made fun of itself in so many ways.
And it was no Bruce Wayne. It's just Batman going home as Batman.
Yeah.
Fucking Lego, man. They got good writers. That's a Swedish company. Right?
I believe so.
But Swedes are known to be funny.
Also, I love Legos, but how is plastic that expensive?
I get it. That's a lot. Think about the molds that they have to produce to make all those different little tiny pieces.
There was a Death Star set for $300 at the Lego store.
How many pieces?
A lot.
Okay, well, 3,000 different pieces of plastic. I understand a lot of them have to be the same mold, just painted differently. It's the same, 4-bump double square. That's the most common one.
Yeah.
It's also the hardest one to find when you need it.
Right? You used them all up.
I was really hoping they would address that in the Lego movies. Or there'd be a part where they have the situation where they need to.
And it's we're always out of that piece.
4-bump double square, red. Yeah.
It's I got a gray one. It's well, that's gonna make the wall look weird. It's not gonna work.
What a fucked up house is this? But then the rest of them are a lot of custom pieces. That'd be really.
Yeah. All right, that's fair.
That'd be really difficult to have to make
little weird
custom
hinges and doodads.
Yeah, hinges
all
and doodads.
The weird little connectors you've never seen before.
Bat horns and plus they're tiny. And that
they are tiny.
Yeah. This Millennium Falcon that I avoided social activity for 5 days to build, I was pretty bummed actually when it was finished. Because
the building is half the fun, really.
Well, not just that, but for me, if a spaceship isn't airtight, it takes me out of the fantasy.
Are there giant holes in that one?
Giant fucking holes. If you drop that thing in water, everyone would be soaked and drown.
So in space, everyone just gets sucked out into the vacuum.
Yeah, it wouldn't make it 5 minutes.
See that it's back in the box. Do you actually have that assembled around here, or is that?
Yeah. That's I put it back in the box.
Oh, okay.
There's nowhere to put it.
Yeah, you've got a lot of Star Wars stuff up, which I'm super digging.
Yeah. I'm nervous because tonight when people come over that they're gonna be okay, we get it. But yeah, big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
You know what I think my favorite part about Star Wars is?
What is your favorite part about Star Wars?
Is the fact that I guarantee 90% of the things people talk about with Star Wars were not intended by the people that created Star Wars. Like a lot of the folklore. I don't know if other mediums do this or other like the reading into things super deep. You know, like we discussed talking about Ewok savagery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that something that George? Because I don't want to give George Lucas that much credit and think like, oh, well, no. And
no, absolutely not. And I think the Ewok savagery thing that we can get into in a minute, I think it's totally unintentional. Like, he just tried to make these cute little teddy bears, but without realizing how he designed them, all of a sudden you have these like vicious monsters. Like, wait, how are these things alive? And like, how is everyone okay? Like celebrating victory with these little monsters that eat people and are vicious murderers.
Yeah, like I think he was trying to do that. Like you said, he was trying to do that whimsical like teddy bears and like killing everything that they come across. And I think the really cool thing about Star Wars and why I fuck with it, because first of all, I will be the first to admit, even though my entire house is decked out in Star Wars gear, even though I have more Star Wars clothing than any other article, even though I know they don't need any more of my money, they're like, I would never sit down with somebody who didn't see Star Wars as a kid and watch it with them and them go, this isn't that good, and be like, you shut your fucking mouth. This is the greatest movie ever made. Like, I would do that with Shawshank Redemption. If someone said Shawshank Redemption was not a good movie, I would tell them they're wrong. I would look them in the face and say, you are fucking stupid. This movie is one of the greatest movies of all time. You don't know shit. Get out of my house. Might be why I don't have any friends. But with
you kicked too many out after watching Shawshank Redemption.
That's like my application process for being my friend is, do you talk during Shawshank Redemption? And if you do, I have no time for it. But Star Wars, I would not say, like, it's not a great movie.
No, and I've actually encountered this recently because my roommate has not seen any of the Star Wars movies, and I'm like, we should watch them because she wants to see the new one that's coming out this December. And
oh, that's rough.
Yeah, and so I was like, let's start. And she's like, I want to start number 1. I'm like, like it's going to be bad no matter where we start. So we started at number 1 and 2, and those are objectively the two worst in the entire saga, is episode 1 and 2. And she wanted to start with that, and I told her we should do 4, 5, 6 first, but she wanted to do chronologically, so it made more sense to her.
That's a rough venture.
I don't think she's going to do episode 3. I honestly think that she's like lost at this point. I don't blame her because those two movies are garbage, but like objectively, like watching that first like 4, 5, and 6, like they're still kind of corny and like they're not like the best movies ever.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, and
they're so good.
Like, so for me, what got me into it is I had like 6 movies on VHS as a kid. So when I stayed home sick from school or on movie night, it was always either Lion King, Cool Runnings, the Star Wars movies, Indiana Jones.
All great movies.
And I can't think of the others. And it doesn't. Free Willy, that was one, but that
I haven't seen Free Willy in a minute.
That didn't withstand the test of time.
No, it did not.
But it was so magical just getting lost in that universe of Star Warsdom and like getting taken away with all these characters. And I mean, I will say objectively, the special effects hold up today. There's absolutely no argument against that for the original movies.
Yeah, because it wasn't too much CGI.
It was all puppets and shit. And that should be a topic for another show, is discussing the greatness that is practical effects, because I could fucking talk about that shit all day. I actually wrote a paper in college about that.
Ew.
I wrote an entire paper in college. I digress. I wrote an entire paper in college about the scene in The Thing where the guy's head falls off and grows legs and runs away. Anyway, but another time, another place.
Another topic.
So, but you start developing this lexicon with Star Wars fans where you dig in and really read into a lot of like the minutia in the movie, and I don't think any movie franchise gets as critically evaluated and deconstructed as Star Wars, which leads to some really fun and entertaining conversations that people who you just can't, like, if you try to explain. Okay, for instance, in the first movie, number 1, not
episode
the
4.
not the real first movie.
Star Wars: A New Hope.
Episode 1, fucking biggest piece of dog shit.
Yeah.
That, anyway, there's a part where they're pod racing. Do you remember I don't remember his name, but there's like this toad creature, and he like has this voice like, that's like all he can do.
Yeah, I did just watch this recently with everybody, so yeah, I knew the toad person you're speaking of.
Yeah, they set up the scene, they're like, oh, here's, what's his name, about to go on the race, and there's his family with a brand new baby. And then it shows him crash into a fucking rock and explode into a fiery ball. It's like, George, it's like, why? Why did you have to include a scene where a guy dies in a fiery ball in front of his children?
It's like, or include him dying, but don't show us his kids.
Explain.
Like, let's not get attached to
Here's
this
his
guy.
wife with his newborn baby. Oh, it looks like he just put a second mortgage on their home. Hope he can win this race to afford taking care of his children.
No,
Boy.
he's dead.
No, he's dead. And then the best part is they finished the race, and a kid who objectively cheated in the race because he had Qui-Gon Jinn basically control the events to have him win.
Well, he controlled the situation of the race, but I think the actual pod race itself, Anakin won fair and square.
Do you think he would have won without Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I do. Because I believe that Anakin is, force sensitive, and
Alright.
that he actually had the fastest pod, and had Solo not sabotaged it at the beginning, he would have had a head start, and it would have easily won that.
So
But
does being force sensitive and using the force to win a race not equal cheating?
ooh, all right.
So if somebody
So-
was a Jedi, a low-key Jedi, and entered the NBA and made every single shot they took because they're a Jedi, would you not say, it's cheating?
I would say that this is like kind of going off of one piece of dialogue in the movie, which justifies my argument, is that Qui-Gon Jinn said that it's really hard for humans to be in pod racing because their reflexes are naturally slower
Right.
than all the other aliens. So I think had Anakin not been force sensitive, he would have died instantly in that pod race.
Like-
But I think having the force abilities allowed him to be at least on the same level, if not a little bit of an edge. So he already had a disadvantage that he was a human, and he already had a disadvantage that his pod was sabotaged.
Okay.
And I think that being force sensitive kind of balanced out the scales in those two disadvantages. that he had.
Okay.
Is my personal opinion on that.
Well, either way, he finishes the race, and they celebrate an elaborate victory right in the face of the mother of the brand new
lost her
baby
husband.
who just walked
And the mother of her
arguably the breadwinner of the family.
Not anymore.
It's like, yay! This is what's important, not to fuck you.
Also,
Yay!
I love that everyone in that pod race pretty much died, and is that normal for pod races? And if so, like, why do people keep entering them?
This
That
is
was
a-
like incredibly fatal. Like in NASCAR, it's a big deal if like someone gets in a crash.
Crash
and
and
like,
like they break their arm. Like,
yeah,
that's news.
That's crazy. But like literally every single race there's ever Anakin died, and there were like Tusken Raiders out on the pod race like shooting at
Yeah.
the drivers. Like it is such a dangerous sport. They just let a little kid go do it.
Terrible mother. So, let's look at Anakin's mother. First of all, I'm not buying the whole he was conceived out of nothing. Like, really sad.
Yeah, I feel like she didn't want to talk about her husband. I feel like that was,
really
like, a drunken
sad
decision.
undertone
Yeah.
of that scene and that whole thing. Again, reading into shit that probably George Lucas didn't even think about. It's probably
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't want
I
to
wanna-
talk about the father, so we're just going to say there wasn't a father. But
I wanna make
apparently
the
she's
Jesus-
told, like, oh, like, what's the story behind that? Like, who's the father?
she was probably raped. That's probably the really sad by like pretty powerful guy who created
on a
Anakin.
hot desert planet full of slaves, that seems...
Yeah. But
Like-
then, just terrible mothering on her behalf. A, letting him enter the pod race after you know he's going to get shot at, and 90% of what's fucking applicants? I don't know. Fucking pod racers die in the process, and then she lets him just dip with a strange man.
And it's like, okay, bye, have fun.
Yeah, see ya.
But,
I'm probably never going to see you again. You're my only son.
but at the same time, I can understand the mother's perspective, like, I love you, and this is like, you now have freedom to follow your dreams and follow your life.
Yeah.
And, like, this is something that I would always want for you, regardless if it means losing you as my son.
Okay. Well, okay, well played, George. Maybe she's not such a bad parent.
Maybe some poor decision making, letting him join the pod race.
Join the pod race.
But, you
But,
know,
I mean, that got him out of slavery. You know?
that's true.
Do you think she was friends with the mother that lost her husband?
I mean, they have to talk at least, right? They got to see each other
It's gotta
on
be
like
really
Sundays or
awkward.
something, like at the grocery store, and like they, it's like, oh hey,
Hey, Carol. Well, nice to see you too.
Also, like the amount of money that they had, it's like this is not enough for 2 slaves. It's like, how expensive are slaves on a desert planet? Because it looks like you guys got a lot of them.
well, I think
Yeah.
I think the idea was that they didn't want to take the mother because she would be a distraction.
But no, because like Guido, what was his that guy? Like the flying bug guy.
I hope it wasn't Guido.
If it wasn't
God,
Guido.
Greedo.
Greedo.
No,
No, Greedo's in
Greedo's
episode
no.
4. Anyway, he's like, no, it's like that's not enough for 2 slaves, not by a long shot. And it's like, really? It's just like a lady and her kid. Like, how much work, like profit, are you making off of these slaves that the entire proceeds of a like state of the art fastest pod ever made isn't enough to pay for 2 slaves.
Yeah. What's his name?
I mean, maybe slavery is not that common on Tatooine. Maybe they're super rare, and so he
Watto.
is making it. Yeah, Guado.
Watto.
With a
Yeah.
W.
Was a male toydarian junk dealer / human trafficker who owned a shop on Mos Espa, Tatooine. He was the owner of the Shmi Skywalker. That really her name, Shmi?
Yeah, Shmi.
Fucking George, Jesus
Right?
Christ.
Some of the names, I'm just like, what are you doing here, man?
What was the Emperor Palpatine has another name that's like ridiculous.
Oh,
Schlith or something.
yeah, what's his first name? Give me Wikipedia that.
Yeah, let me look it up right now.
It was something ridiculous. I only mentioned it once, and it's like, really? That's what you're gonna go with?
I heard that he allows his Sheev
Palpatine.
I heard that George Lucas allows his son or daughter to name all of the characters, which would make sense because
They were children, yeah. Because some of those names are like, why would...
like Qui-Gon Jinn.
But that's actually, like, it's got like a cadence to it.
But the worst, I think, and I think this is before he had his kids writing his movies for him. Han Solo, the lone space raider. I mean Chewbacca, yeah.
It's a little on the nose, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose. Luke Skywalker,
Because he's in space. And
because he's in space, walks on sky. Very clever there, buddy. Definitely worth $1 billion. So yeah, it's. I just wonder, do people pick apart like people who are really into Archie comics? Are they like sitting around in groups? Because I guarantee you, this is going to be one of a gajillion podcasts discussing the nuances of Star Wars. But do like Archie comics have that same?
You know, I feel like everything has its fandom like that, but I feel like Star Wars is on a scale where there's more people that talk about it, and so
I think any true Star Wars fan hates Star Wars as much as they love it.
I think that's fair, because there are times where I'm like, I want to watch Star Wars right now, but then I start watching Star Wars, and I'm like,
What are you doing?
why am I watching Star Wars?
It's the same thing when I watch Jaws, my second favorite movie of all
Yes,
time.
I know. You have quite the obsession with Jaws.
Because I don't even think I necessarily like Star Wars. I wouldn't even categorize as one of my favorite movies. I would more
Absolutely
categorize
not.
it.
Like, I love Star Wars, but it's
It's one of
definitely
my
not.
it's one of my favorite things to talk about, though. Hence the last 35 minutes.
I love the concept of Star Wars, I think, more than I love Star Wars.
But there's better space op, like objectively better space operas out there. Like I would almost argue that Dune is a better story, but the movies just sucked.
Yeah.
They couldn't. I think it's just like, I think the simplicity of Star Wars, Star Trek. I think people probably, but they don't hate it
really
as
nerd
much.
out over Star Trek, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't like bash it as much as.
No, because I think for its time, Star Trek did a lot of like really cool things that weren't
Yeah.
done. Like they had like the first like lead role who was like a black actress on TV.
First interracial kiss.
Right. Yeah. So there's like a lot of things that Star Trek did that were like really new for television, and it was like one of the first like mainstream television sci-fi shows. And I think that.
Yeah, and the idea that you would go to a different colony and not mess with the culture and just to try to observe and like learn from it, that was really new.
It's a really cool message that as a society, as humans, we have not done
Yeah,
so well in the past.
In the post-colonialist era, it's really an important thing for us to know that like different doesn't mean savage necessarily. Although, if you ever find yourself on a tiny forest planet and a tiny little bear approaches you
Different may mean savage.
with dead doll-like shark eyes.
That's one thing I actually haven't really thought about, but thinking about like Ewok's face right now and like picturing it, those are like really just
death in their eyes. Yeah, and the one thing I love, Danny O'Brien pointed out, he's a commentator on Cracked, who I'm going to name drop like I know him.
Danny B. I love him.
Danny B, or Deanie O'Beanie as he calls himself.
He's growing to that, yeah.
Was that at the end of Star Wars, after they kill everybody, the Ewoks just murk like the strongest military force in the galaxy is taken down by a bunch of little teddy bears, and people are going to argue that they didn't know what they were doing. And then
Right, because like the rebels couldn't do that.
right,
The rebels get in so many fights with the stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers walk all over them.
yeah, but I mean, I guess the rebels didn't have sticks and rocks.
Yeah, they had lasers, but I guess that's not good enough.
So some of the things he pointed out, one, when they first come in contact with the rebels, he has the that creature's head He's wearing the creature's head as a hat.
Oh yeah, his recent kill. He's just wearing
which
his
is
clothes.
what is it? A boar or something?
It was like some kind of bear or like tiger looking thing. Yeah.
Which means that he killed that terrifying creature.
Skinned it.
Skinned it.
Where's it skinned?
And wears it as a hat. That's
Which
like,
for primitive cultures, that's fairly common, I suppose, to like kill an animal and like wear its skin. But like
this
is
is a little teddy bear.
Who did that?
Death-eyed, buck-toothed teddy bear creature. And then when they do capture the rebels, they take down Han Solo. Again, these aren't my observations, but they take down Han Solo, one of the slipperiest slipperiest smugglers in the entire galaxy. Slipperiest smugglers. That's fun.
It's kind of weird.
Feels good coming
Slippery
out. Slippery
Smugglers.
smugglers.
That should be a name of a bar. I would go to the Slippery Smuggler.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good bar name. Yeah.
Right? I would totally get a drink there.
It just sounds like the kind of place where like you might get roofied though.
I wasn't thinking that originally, but now that I'm thinking that, I'm kind of ashamed.
Like think about how natural the sentence sounds.
Yeah.
I got drugged at the Slippery Smuggler.
It's like, well, obviously,
Well,
you got dragged to the Slippery Smuggler. That's bad.
They capture Luke Skywalker, who
a Jedi in training, maybe not full Jedi, but Jedi in training at least.
who is claimed to be one of the most powerful. And they're about to eat them.
They are straight up about to eat
Like,
them.
they have them on
tied to
spits,
sticks, and
like
they're
about-
putting them over a fire.
Yeah.
Like,
And then, so they defeat, obviously this is a thing they do, eating humans. And so they put them, when they do kill all the stormtroopers, they play drums on the dead helmets and, I mean, objectively, probably ate stormtrooper brain. And probably fed the stormtrooper to the crew, to Scooby and the gang.
ooh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, because there's probably not a lot of, like, game that they could have, like, hunted
Right.
in for a feast on that.
So then they had the feast and...
On stormtroopers and Imperials.
So-
Because...
So it was really funny because the thing Daniel Bryan pointed out was they probably all got back on the spaceship and were like, "Wow, that was pretty fucked up, right? we ate Stormtrooper." I didn't want to say no because it would have been rude and frankly,
you might have
those
been
things
next.
terrified me.
But, and also, like, do the Ewoks care about the Empire versus the Rebels? Like, why? What was their stake in that fight?
I think it's just defending their home, but do you think they got Jedi mind tricked into like?
Well, they did think that C-3PO was their god.
Understandable.
But if Luke could levitate C-3PO like that and make them think that he's their god, then why couldn't he just like untie his ropes and get his lightsaber? And
Because he probably knew that the Ewoks are the most savage fighting force, and that was why they decided to. Wait, why would they build their Empirical base on that planet if they knew that the Ewoks
it's full of these monstrous
full of
little
these awful
bears.
bear trolls?
Maybe that's why it was so fortified. Because remember, like they come to the back entrance, that's where there's only a few stormtroopers. But by the time they come out, there's like hella ATSTs and like tons of troops. So maybe they had such a force there, not just to protect the thing, but because they knew that there was so many savage,
dead-eyed bear creatures.
yeah. So they really had to fortify the crap out of that bunker
It's
because
like
there's
really
such savage wildfire.
Tired. It's getting expensive to have all of our troops killed and eaten by these dead-eyed bear creatures.
Yeah.
Okay.
That explains why they had like AT-ATs on the planet. It's like this is like just a little forest moon, and they have a huge garrison there because these little savage monsters are there, and they will easily kill stormtroopers.
I always wondered what the strategic advantage of AT-AT was, and
Because they're pretty slow.
they're pretty slow and they're really top-heavy, and it doesn't make a lot of sense from a strategical standpoint. Why wouldn't they have something lower center of gravity? But I realized it's perfect for walking through terrain that is not flat or paved. Because if
Right.
you have like a ship with wheels, you can't navigate it as well. The only times you see them are on Endor and on Hoth. And so they are both really unstable ground. And the one having those on Hoth with 4 legs makes a lot more sense because it's really slippery. So if you just had a 2-legged...
They would like slip and fall pretty easily.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then of course they do like in the prequels, which I shouldn't even be talking about the prequels, but they have like the iterations with like 6 legs, and I just lost sound. Is that?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, in the prequels they have like the iterations that have like 6 legs, and then the Legos that have like a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know if it's like necessarily canon, but I think they're just trying to show like, oh, this is the progression of like we went from like being something with 6 legs that was kind of stable to having like 2 legs. I don't know why we made that change.
Wait. Yeah, that was the other observation a lot of people make, is that the technology got objectively worse
Right?
in the future. But I mean, war is rough. That was one thing I really dug about Rogue One. Is it was the first time I think they showed stormtroopers with dirty uniforms,
Yeah.
dirty armor.
That was like straight up like some guerrilla warfare that was going on in that city, and it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
They had like an actual tank that got
They
blown
had
up.
a little like troll thing with lively eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hucking grenades. I think, and I think a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but I don't care, because fuck you, that Rogue One is a better movie than Force Awakens. There, I said it.
So I have heard frequently that people say they did not like Rogue One, or that they least favorite Star Wars movie, but I honestly am of the same opinion that I think it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and that's precisely because it just kind of shows you, like, a regular sci-fi movie in this universe. You know,
Right.
It's not about the Skywalkers.
Right.
It's not about, like, the, you know,
This
this whole-
overarching mysticism.
It's just
and-
like, here's a universe where there's, like, this crazy oppressive empire
Mhm.
that is, like, fucking up a lot of shit.
a lot of shit.
And even though it's like still tied into that, it's just like showing you like what it's kind of like what the cities
Day to day.
and these are like, and like
Yeah.
the kind of struggle that people go through, and like people are just trying to like live underneath the empire. And I think for that reason, it was one of my favorite. And it was like it was a little more grit to it. I think a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it also showed like war is not as simple as good guy versus bad guy.
Yeah.
It's like in the beginning when God, I should know his name.
Galen Erso.
Yeah. No.
Oh, the director Krennic.
This
Oh.
guy. The the guy with the
Oh.
sexy accent.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either.
Fucking. Anyway, he shoots his buddy because he's like scared that he can't like make it over the
Yeah, he's
thing.
blowing his cover.
And it's like the greatest good outweighs, because fuck man, could you imagine being a kid, like a parent trying to explain that to a kid after they saw like the first three, and like everything's pretty straightforward.
It's like, but he's a good guy. Why'd he kill another good guy? It's like
You know, 'cause war is
dude couldn't keep
fucked
his
up.
cool. He couldn't keep his cool, dude. He was like cracking.
because they showed that it's not as simple as they wanted. They always present it to be, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and in the end, even though they get the plans off the base, everyone dies in the end.
I heard a funny anecdote about that. That when they originally when they originally wrote the ending, they wrote two endings because they were like, there's no way Disney is going to allow us to have everybody die at the end. So they presented the ending where everybody lives, and I might be wrong about this, and then Disney was like, yeah, it's okay. And then they're like, okay, well,
Everybody dies.
how about this one where everyone dies? And they're like, oh, let's go with that one.
Yeah.
Or I think it was the other way around. They showed them the one where everyone dies, and they're like, just in case, here's the one where everyone lives. And they're like, no, this is good.
Yeah. You like the death.
Which is fucking, I have a lot of faith in Disney being able to pull this off. I am really nervous for the Han Solo movie, because the pre-production, it apparently has more pre-production nightmares than Suicide Squad did. And we
saw how that came out. Yeah. Oh god.
The benchmark of is this a watchable movie or not? Is it better or worse than Suicide Squad? So hopefully they don't shit the bed with that. I guess they originally had like two comedy directors. I don't know who.
I don't know if that movie needs comedy directors.
Yeah, but they decided to can them and move on anyway.
I am nervous. Originally Disney announced that they were going to do another anthology, which is the Boba Fett background, but I've also heard rumor that is no longer going to be in production. And if so, I'm just really upset because Boba Fett is easily my favorite Star Wars character.
Is he really?
He is.
Is it because of the... So here's my thing with Boba Fett. I think he's a little overrated. I think
I can understand that.
He has the coolest helmet in the galaxy.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the uniform and the helmet make him a lot of people's favorite because it's just so aesthetically pleasing. But if you actually look at what he doesn't do shit.
True.
He dies, and then he dies by accident. It's not even like a real...
He just gets swallowed up. And
Swallowed
I
up.
don't know if you watch Robot Chicken that often, but there's that whole scene where he gets into the Sarlacc pit, and he's like trying to explain to the guy how he got in. And he makes up this whole grand story of like how he fell in. It's like, oh, well, at least you didn't go out like a punk. And he starts like crying. Like, yeah, you're right. It's like that's very true. He definitely is the coolest looking Star Wars character, and I think it's what I think I like him most about him is that it's just the mystery behind him because he like never speaks. He has like a few lines, and And then you get a glimpse in his backstory when you see like the whole prequels,
The stoicism,
the stoicism.
the helmet.
He's clearly good enough that he's like made it to Darth Vader's list of bounty hunters that he's going to contract with.
Okay.
But I think I was really excited because like there was a couple of books that I read about him that were like pretty cool. I can't remember the name since I was like 12 when I read them back when like Star Wars books were a huge thing.
A thing, yeah. I never. I think this is more a testament to my laziness, but I never read any of the books.
I read a few of them. If it was about a character that I liked.
I did get bit by George Lucas's dog.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's the story behind that?
I worked at a dog kennel in college, and his dog was one of the dogs that came there. There was Punky and Indy, and funny story.
Indy, of course, he had a dog named Indy.
Well, no, at the end of The Last Crusade, Sean Connery says to Harrison Ford, "I'm not going to call you Indy. That's the dog's name." That was the dog.
That's what I just like. That relation just clicked in my head as soon as I talked to him.
It was. I got bit by that dog.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I got in a fight.
I would have like saved that bite mark forever.
I did, in the form of a scar on my arm. Although I
nice.
don't think I have it anyway. Yeah, it's gone now.
Oh,
But I had like 4 really neat puncture wounds.
Well, he got you good then.
He bit the shit out of me. It's Alaskan Malamute. I also danced with George Lucas's daughter at a bar mitzvah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're just Mr. Star Wars.
And I stood next to George Lucas at a soccer game.
Man, you and George just go way back, don't you?
Yep.
Old time buddies.
Yep. Said, "Hey, George, I want
Right,
to talk
that-
to you about Star Wars."
That is the one cool thing about living in the Bay Area is that, actually, not the other day, it was like a year ago, I was driving with my roommates through the peninsula, the Presidio to go to his work, and in the car next to us was George Lucas on his way to like the office in the Presidio. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's George Lucas right there. So we do get to see good old George.
Good old
around
George.
here.
That must be rough. I mean, again, going back to what we were saying before, having the most... Because everyone blames George Lucas for anything wrong with Star Wars. It's always like he really is like the personification of God himself. Because you're either saying, "Oh, thank you, great
Or,
one,"
like,
or
"God, you
why
suck."
did you do this to me? So it must be really brutal to just be him on a day-to-day basis.
Right, because on the one hand, you created this universe which has such great potential and has a lot of like really cool things to it, but then also you made Jar Jar Binks.
You made
and
Jar
like,
Jar
why
Binks.
did
Jar Jar
why did you
Binks
do
is
that?
the key to everything.
And I'm so upset that he's created Jar Jar Binks and then had like there's all these fan theories about how Jar Jar Binks is the ultimate Sith Lord. If you
Yeah,
haven't heard
I
about
think-
that, you should definitely look it up. But
I
like,
think that's the fans.
that's.
I don't think that was him.
But then there was an interview where he said Jar Jar's the key to everything. That's like
Right.
something he's quoted on saying, and like I really wish he had just like listened to the fans and gone full into that.
But have you
Like,
heard the full quote?
I have not actually. I
Yeah.
just heard that line.
It's
so I'm
taken
quoting
out of context.
I
He
know.
was talking about a particular scene. He's like, Jar Jar's the key to everything here. Because
Okay.
he's going to be the first, or the funniest character.
See, I should read the whole thing.
He's-
I shouldn't
he's
just
a-
mindless
he's
quote things out of context. But
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that was the fundamental basis for a lot of that theory, was that one line. But what he was saying is that, this is where I think people give him George too much credit, is what he was saying was that Jar Jar Binks was going to be the new generation's Chewbacca.
oh,
Like the one that everybody
No.
loved. And
No, absolutely not.
That's
Absolutely
that is
not.
insult. That is like false to the point of being insulting.
Chewbacca is objectively lovable. Jar Jar Binks is not.
Yeah, Chewbacca is actually the one character that is like objectively pure and true and has complete righteous.
Yeah, he's just a big hairy Wookiee. He likes to give people big old hugs and
And-
he can take a lot of F's.
He's totally loyal, and like everybody else has like a plan. Has some.
Yeah, but R2D2 and Chewbacca just through and through.
Well, I mean, R2D2 is just a droid. He just does,
But he's loyal to helping out Luke. He's always like,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
helping out Skywalker.
I mean, he's definitely, you get your money's worth if you end up with R2D2 as a droid, but
Yeah, right. That was
Chewbacca's-
the best investment that Uncle Owen ever made. I mean, he didn't live long to see the follow through, but
how different do you think it would have been if they'd have bought the red droid and the red droid didn't break,
right. And then just have C-3PO and some red droid,
and then the credits roll?
and that's it. It's like,
It's like, I'll take the red one.
Luke never gets a message. It's like that's it.
Yeah.
Although I think R2 would have figured out a way to get to Obi-Wan at some point.
Did he Jedi mind trick that red droid? Did they sabotage the red droid to break? Because that just seems a little too convenient. The entire plot hinged
On that
him
red droid breaking.
picking, or maybe Obi-Wan was like chilling somewhere watching this whole thing. Because I mean, fuck me if R2D2 arriving on the planet, like considering the narrative, if him arriving on the planet wasn't something Obi-Wan was aware of, because he was there specifically to watch Luke and to make sure he was okay. And then all of a sudden a droid shows up that was sent by Princess Leia, his like homie, another person who's.
Well, I think they addressed that though. I mean, continue your thought, but I think they do address that in Rogue One when he's like, "I know someone at Tatooine. Like, I will try and get a message to him."
Okay.
Yeah.
So then he was there, and he's like, nope, can't buy that one, and then destroyed the red one. Huh. Fucking George, God. That guy's just the best.
But at this point, like, George isn't in charge of the movies anymore, so I think that was a nice tie-in by Disney, too. Like,
kind of like the Luke is your father, or Vader is your father thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess was not totally an afterthought. That was, like, never written into the script.
Yeah.
Originally.
I was trying to, like, there's, like, all these, like, there's a million YouTube videos on, like, Star Wars fan theory.
Right.
And so, like, some of them are done by, like, really monotone guys who, like, have no fluctuation in their voice, so it's kind of hard to watch. But some of them are, like, talking about, like, how originally George Lucas had planned on making Darth Vader just, like, having, like, boring-ass white stormtrooper armor. Yeah.
Have you heard his original voice?
No.
Oh, the movie would have been... That movie... I would not have posters in my room if they had kept his voice. It literally, this is my best impression of it. You're part of the Rebel Alliance? You must go!
No.
It's like,
like some posh British guy.
No,
No, James Earl Jones was definitely the good choice for that.
But somebody had to talk George Lucas out of having that voice stay.
Oh, I'm so glad they did, though.
Yeah, which goes back to my point that it must be really rough to be George Lucas, like, at a supermarket. And, like, you're just checking your shit out, and the guy behind you is just sitting there staring at you.
Like, you have such bad ideas.
Oh, fuck, here he comes. I just wanted to get some peas. And then you see him, you're George Lucas, right? Son of a bitch.
God damn it. It's like, thank you for Star Wars, but also, what the fuck were you thinking?
I got a question for you. My friend saw him leaving his Skywalker Ranch in Lucas Valley.
Mm-hmm.
It was right back near where I went to high school. And she honked and started waving at him, and he obviously ignored her.
Right.
And kept driving. And she was, like, really butthurt about that. She's like, God, why wouldn't he want to
Because
stop?
he gets that all the time. Like,
Well, what she said was, why wouldn't he want to, like, stop and talk to a fan? I'm like, do you understand how Star Wars fans... Like, literally, the lexicon of Star Wars is based off of the fact that they're nitpick it to shreds.
It's insane. I think it's, like, the most, like, overly analyzed, like, lexicon, and I'm totally a part of that. It's like, it's something that I love, and I love to hate, and it's, like, it's...
Right,
it's
and
so
that's something you
interesting.
can't explain if you sit down with someone who's like, I've never seen Star Wars, and I want to see the new one in theaters. You're like,
It's like...
just don't. Like, just, you missed it.
I mean, the new ones, I think you can watch.
You can watch it, but,
the new
I
ones
mean...
are, like, watchable,
man.
but, like, 1 through 6, it's like, you're in for something else. Like,
If you're not going to be a part of that conversation, what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
then it's just another movie. And anyone who was raised on it, anyone who has thought about the fact that Obi-Wan has destroyed the droid because he knew that destroyed the droid, that might be a good bar name too.
Ooh, destroy the droid?
Yeah, you probably get less roofies there.
Probably.
Than the slippery
probably
smuggler.
get really shit-faced, though.
Yeah,
And probably get destroyed or destroy the droid.
that'd be a good. Yeah. So if this doesn't work, this podcast recording thing doesn't work out, we should start 2 bars.
Yeah.
Next to each other.
Slippery Smuggler and Destroy the Droid. You start off at the Slippery Smuggler, things get a little weird, you go to Destroy the Droid, and you just have a good time.
Yeah.
Or you don't remember your night, who knows.
So, in summation, I swear to God, the next one we're not going to talk about Star Wars.
Well, you say that, but
I know,
we'll do our
never
best.
going to turn into that, but...
Like, we had all these plans to talk about Batman and fascism, and now here we are, like, an hour into Star
Yeah,
Wars.
Batman and fascism. That was a thing. So that was. Sorry to completely go back full circle. The ending of Dark Knight Returns.
Yes.
Did you notice how it became an analogy for nobody's fucking seen or read Dark Knight Returns?
But they should. If you are
They
a
should.
Batman fan, you absolutely should at least read the book for sure, which I have not done, or at least watch the movie. Don't be alarmed. I bought it on Amazon Video. It said it was 5 hours long, and I'm like, God damn it, Elliot. I'm not going to watch 5 hours of Batman. I love Batman, but that's a little extreme. It's only like 2 hours, and there's 3 hours of the writers and artists talking about it, which I did not watch. But
I wish I knew that was the case, because I would definitely watch that. but I also don't have any friends because one of my criteria for being my friend is that you can't talk during Shawshank Redemption, and that's a 3.5 hour long movie. Did you know that was written by Stephen King?
I think I had seen that somewhere.
Yeah.
I actually have not seen Shawshank Redemption.
So there's the door.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave now. I've been meaning.
You
to
have
watch
not
it.
seen Shut.
It's okay. So here's the thing: is that
Ugh.
I have been wanting to for forever, but I'm cheap, so
It's on Netflix. It's fucking on. What are you doing for the next 3 hours?
Maybe watching Shawshank Redemption. Who knows?
We're having people over at 6. Yeah, it's probably not going to be enough time.
Well, I haven't meaning to watch it, and I thought it wasn't on Netflix, which is why I have been avoiding actually purchasing it. But
dude,
I think that'll be my day tomorrow.
Andy Dufresne, Get Busy Living, and get Morgan Freeman narrates the whole.
I'm sorry.
Man, I was actually really disappointed in a coworker because I was talking about Shawshank Redemption being the greatest movie ever made, and she was like, I don't know, it's just okay. I thought it was really sad at the end where he got executed. I was like, what the fuck are you talking? Oh, you're thinking of The Green Mile.
No, that's totally different.
The Green Mile was okay. I mean, I'm not a big Stephen King fan, so I mean, he's a.
But didn't
Again,
Stephen
it's sort
also
of
write Shawshank?
Then that came into my mind. I immediately put my dick in my mouth. My foot in my mouth.
Freudian slip, maybe.
Yeah. So that's another thing I was thinking of. If you could, you know how people say they spend years doing yoga and stretching and taking out Marilyn Manson had his bottom ribs removed so he could suck his own dick. Think about if you could suck your own dick. The end goal. I mean, if this is what you're into, this is what you're into. Fucking A. Stretch and do your yoga. But the end goal, ultimately, is having a dick in your mouth. Your own dick. And I've seen, my own dick at its worst.
I mean, haven't we all? Yeah.
So that's not really a goal worth, Batman fascism.
Batman fascism, that little tangent.
I really liked how the end of Dark Knight Returns, they do a parallel between, the United States being the same as Batman and yet trying to stop Batman during the Cold War, and how they were, throwing their weight around, nobody cares. But I bet more people... if the 3 people, my parents were listening to this, I think my parents would rather hear me talk about sucking my own dick than the end of Dark Knight.
It's funny because he definitely becomes Batman is a military dictator at the end of this movie.
Right.
And I was wow, this is kind of alarming how everyone's totally okay with okay, yeah, we'll just listen to this one guy.
The guy on the horse.
Also, some little low-key things in that movie that were absolutely hilarious. Knowing the Ronald Reagan-esque president.
That was Ronald Reagan.
It was Reagan?
That was Reagan.
Okay.
For sure. Frank Miller does not like Ronald Reagan. But anyway.
I love the part where he's addresses the entire country in a media broadcast in a hazmat suit. It's so I've got good news and bad news. And it's whoa. It's not something you ever want to see and hear from a leader country. The good news is we won this battle. The bad news is the Russians are sore losers. And it's whoa, what the hell is happening right now? And that just that one little thing, I just started laughing uncontrollably in my room at night when I was watching this movie. I was this is.
See where that is.
Do they have that scene in the book as well? Yeah.
There's definitely. Because it's 2 parts. The first half is Batman becoming Batman again, which Batman's always been Batman.
Yeah, but it's he's got to work out some of the.
And then the second half is all about Superman and
him versus Superman
fighting the Cold War.
Classic Batman versus Superman. And I think that Batman versus Superman fight was way better than the entire Batman versus Superman.
Oh, but that's what it was based off of. The suit. And
it was it was clearly tried to go for it, but they just half-assed it. Which I know you haven't seen that movie yet, and you also haven't seen Justice League. But there's a scene in Justice League where obviously Superman comes back from the dead. It's he's on the poster.
The fuck?
He's on the poster of the movie.
He's not on the poster.
He is.
No, I was in Verizon the other day. And I saw The Flash, and I saw Wonder Woman, and I literally thought, I guess Superman's not in this one.
Oh, well, within 10 minutes of the movie, he goes back to life, so it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, well, whatever.
But the fight scene that happens there is longer and more well done than the entire fight scene of Batman vs. Superman in the Batman vs. Superman movie, which it's kind of you guys had a whole movie about this concept.
It's literally called Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, and you have I timed it the other night. It's a 7-minute fight out of a 2-hour movie, and then they do it again in Justice League, and it's way better than the entire fight where they have an entire movie dedicated to this. So it's why did you even have this movie?
Huh. They could probably just scrap that one from the record. So you don't think you need to see Batman vs Superman to get Justice League? Is that a necessity?
I mean, if you want to get the background of like how Superman dies, or
you could probably just tell me right now.
yeah, I mean he dies fighting Doomsday.
Oh,
'Cause
so he sacrifices himself like Jesus.
Yeah, he like gets like a spear of kryptonite and he like flies right into him
into him,
and like and
how you do it.
dies.
That's how you do it.
So that's like a little sad, but like really other than that, like and also like they introduced Lex Luthor and they introduced Wonder Woman as the first movie this new Wonder Woman is in. But you don't really need that for her. You can just watch the Wonder Woman movie, which is great.
I thought that was pretty good. The only part I didn't like was that Ares still had the mustache.
Yeah, so as an undercover Ares, he was okay because he's super unassuming, like quiet little British guy.
Yeah.
But then when he becomes like Ares, like the god of war, it's like he still has that little British accent, and he's still like this tiny little British guy with a mustache. And I'm just like, you're so not intimidating, dude. Like this is not doing it for me. Like
you were the god of war.
I'm really underwhelmed as a supervillain at this point. I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't be scared of you. Like,
yeah. Well, I liked Wonder Woman. The only part I didn't like is when she gets taught about sex by Chris Pine in the boat. Like, they didn't need that scene. They literally just put that in there to be like, this is a great feminist message, psych.
Yeah. You know, I liked Wonder Woman for a lot of things, like strong female character, kicking ass, like, but I do hate that she literally falls in love with the first guy she meets.
Right. That's
I'm like,
well, that's actually a very common trope in science fiction. I saw a video about it on YouTube. Someone a lot smarter and more, I don't even know his name, but the concept's called Born Sexy Yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that you have a female character introduced into a contemporary world or situation who is battle savvy and knows absolutely nothing about the world she's in. So she embodies her personality and intelligence embodied like that of a like teenager or like a very young nubile woman, and yet her physical prowess and her fighting skills are that of like a grown warrior woman. And the first man she meets, so she's like
swoony for. Yeah.
She's like almost the idea of the perfect woman to people who are chauvinist pigs. It is embodied in this woman, and yet the first person she meets is just the guy who knows how to drive a car and turn on the microwave, and because she knows nothing about the world she's in, this guy then becomes the ultimate symbol for intelligence, and like he doesn't have to do shit because all he does is just know how the world works, and then she shows up, this perfect embodiment of like what a woman is supposed to be, and they basically just wipe the whole slate of like he has to do anything other than just be, and it basically condescendingly explain the way the world works to her. And because he's able to do that, she falls in love with him. And it's like in every
wow, that's upsetting.
fucking movie. Fifth Element,
Yep.
Tron, Wonder Woman, fucking Weird Science.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking think of it. The only movie I can think of that doesn't do that is goddamn Star Wars.
True.
Star Wars, one thing I will say to its credit, they know how to write strong female characters, except Natalie Portman in the second and third movie.
Yeah. Well, in the second movie, she's like, well, I guess more the third movie. No, second movie, she's got a little bit more. Something's beeping at us.
Hold on, it's my dishwasher.
Oh, it's mad at you for not washing dishes.
Yeah, we'll edit this part out. Okay. Sorry about that, folks.
You know, in the second movie, and I guess like a little bit like when it comes to like the political ring, which I hate that I'm saying this right now, but like like that's like the one part of Star Wars that's like she's like a strong political like leader, and that's great. But also I hate that because we didn't need any of that. We didn't need the Intergalactic Congress. Oh my lord!
Come on. Fuck you. Probably gonna run the dishwasher again. Anyway, we did not need.
We didn't need any of the Star Wars politics. It's completely unnecessary. And like the uber nerd in me is like, oh well, this is like why there's an empire. It's because we get to see like how it became an empire. But it's like they could have just said that. Like oh, there was a republic. Shit happened. Oh, now it's the emperor. we didn't need to watch, probably collectively an hour of Senate time of them talking about like, oh, this trade is a really bad trade for the Naboo people, and now we've got to like.
Yeah, it was pretty dull. I mean, I can't believe I was that taken by it when I was a kid. You know what I think they should have done instead? A second pod race.
That would have been good.
Or
as a kid, actually, I was not a fan of pod racing. Pod racing scene has actually grown on me as the years have gone on, because I think that is like the best part of that.
That's the best part of the whole
that
movie.
and the fight between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan / Qui-Gon. Like those two parts of the movie are all I really want to watch.
Why didn't they give Darth Maul?
He's got one line.
Fucking George.
And
God, I hate you.
10 minutes of screen time. Yeah.
I know, and he's objectively the coolest character. He's the Boba Fett of that.
Of the prequels, yeah.
And they should have kept him through all three. They could have had him.
They could have. He could have been like the overarching like sidekick to, they didn't need Count
Palpatine's
Dooku.
hitman.
Count Dooku did not need to be Count Dooku. They could have had Darth Maul.
They had Darth Maul. Yep.
Also, one thing, I was just watching that movie recently with a roommate, and I'm wondering, that whole fight scene, while really cool, and it's in this huge room with all these different like walkways and like closing doors, and it's like, this is in the palace. Like, what room is this? Like, why is this room even here? Why do you need that giant pit? Like, what is? Like, it was so confusing. And like trying to analyze, I'm like, why? Why is this room here? And like, what is this place? And it's never explained. It's like, oh yeah, and like in our palace, it's just all like very castle-y looking and very palace-y. They just have this room that's all like spacey with.
Well, they probably designed that room just in case the coolest character in the movie has to get cut in half by two somewhat lame versions of Jedis. Yeah. You know what I also think they should have done instead? They should have shown about an hour and a half of lady's pregnancy having that baby. Because then it would have added some gravitas to him slamming into that rock and dying in front of everybody. Pod racing.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of who you're talking about for a second there.
But anyway,
the voice wasn't doing it for me, but yeah.
I digress. The character of I'm trying to blank on her, Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Really strong in the first one, making her own decisions, and then the next one she's swooned and overtaken by a man.
See, now I'm happy to be just a wife at home.
Who doesn't like sand.
And who murders children. And
who wishes he could just wish his feelings away.
And who is angry that he's the youngest Jedi to ever be on the council, and is mad that they won't make him a Jedi Master. And it's like, dude, you are like 21 years old.
It's like a pouting teenager with too much eyeliner.
It's like, just take a chill pill.
And then she literally dies of sadness.
Right, she's lost the will to live.
It's like, I don't know what's going on. She's lost. It's like that. Those are the moments that why George Lucas can't buy his own groceries.
Yeah,
is because Padme lost to the will, died because she lost the will to live.
It's like not due to complications of childbirth, which would have been a much more realistic.
Totally fine.
No, she's just too sad.
I mean, what she's been through is pretty traumatic. Or fucking, she finally got assassinated by Palpatine. Like,
he finally did it.
Or like, what if? Food for thought. Anakin killed her.
Yeah, and like his rage. What if Palpatine wasn't lying? He actually killed her in his rage, and they were able to save the kids. Like that would have been fucking tragic, and it would have added to like his, like why he hates himself. And that's a whole interesting thing about whole Darth Vader character is like how much he just hates himself.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say from watching it chronologically is you get to see that story arc. Like I hate Anakin as like Anakin, but once he becomes Darth Vader, his self-loathing is really evident.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see that even through the prequels, which I don't think that's the actual Star Wars movies, the 4, 5, and 6, which I don't think they meant to do. But like you can see, like even though you never see Darth Vader's face, the whole interactions with him and Luke Skywalker, where he's like, "No, it's too late for me. Like I take you to the Emperor." Like you can kind of just like sense this like self-loathing and hatred.
So, George, God, you fucking genius.
But like, I don't think that was intended at the time, and it's like you don't see it if you just watch this. But like having seen him go from Anakin, become Darth Vader, think that he killed his wife, think that his kids are dead, finding out his son's alive, and then just like kind of emotionally shutting down. It's like, no, I'm just gonna follow the will of my master and take you to him. It's too late for me. Like this is my life now. Yeah. And it's like you can like just kind of sense this like, oh, this guy like just absolutely fucking hates himself.
So relatable.
Yeah.
Redemption. But fuck, dude, how badass is that scene of him in Rogue One?
Oh my god.
If you don't like Rogue One, whatever,
you at least like that scene.
But you can't hate on that scene.
That
right?
scene is the
This
most
whole-
intense scene of Star Wars I've ever seen.
The whole fucking galaxy is like hanging on the line, like on the rib of this guy
Trying to get this disc out of here.
Just get it, and you really understand like
How terrifying a Jedi is to a regular person.
Yeah,
It's
because
like,
you don't see any Jedi throughout the whole movie. It's like, you know, a lot of pew 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 and like explosions and stuff, but there's a lot of pew pew, no vroom vroom.
Yeah, and then there's one vroom vroom.
One vroom vroom, you're like, holy shit! And also why like it's so fucking, it must have been terrifying to be chased by that dude.
Right?
Like-
Well, and then it also, because like, if I watched episode 4 right afterwards, because you have to.
Yeah.
And even though you never see Darth Vader's expression, you never see his face because of the mask, you can just tell in that scene he is fucking pissed and he is murdering and murdering.
It's like, who put all these goddamn doors on this spaceship?
Right? Well, you know, airlocks, we need him.
Right.
But then in episode 4, he's calm as fuck, just like walks onto the ship and he's like, yo, where are them plans at?
Well, I think he probably learned like the proper way to be a badass from Emperor Palpatine, because he was like you don't gloat, you know, you just do your badass thing and then you pretend like you meant to do it.
Yeah, and then like in episode 4, he just like casually walks onto the starship. It's like, hey, like,
By the way,
I had some time to cool down.
Yeah.
I really like these plans.
Maybe you want to give me those plans now. I won't have to murder any more except this guy.
I don't know if you've seen the like YouTube voiceover of Samuel Jackson doing the voice of Star Wars.
Mm-mm.
It is absolutely
Really?
hilarious. It is that whole scene where he's on the starship, but it's like they just take Samuel Jackson lines and voice them over as Darth Vader. And it's like, if Samuel Jackson wasn't already Mace Windu, he should have been cast as the part as Darth Vader, because it's so good. Like, you should watch it if you're a Samuel Jackson fan and a Darth Vader fan. It's,
Who isn't?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So, I think we went well over an hour.
oh, look at that. And we only talked about like one of the topics we were planning on talking
Yeah.
about, but I think it was fun.
Yeah, I think
next
time maybe.
It's easy to get on a tangent about Star Wars.
Yeah,
It's,
that's what's so great about it. That's why it's the greatest franchise to discuss ever.
not necessarily to watch.
Not necessarily
But you
to
need to
watch.
watch it in order to discuss it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
it's a good catch. 22.
But again, I would never fault anybody if they watched it and said, I don't
I'm
get
not a
it.
fan. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I can see that.
And anybody who isn't a Star Wars fan probably wouldn't listen this far into the.
Oh, absolutely not. Like, if you're not a Star Wars fan, you are not listening to us now. You probably got enticed by Batman earlier on, but you're not a Star Wars fan.
If you're a
now.
Batman.
Yeah, and now you don't care. So,
So,
I understand that.
anyway, so join us next time,
Whenever that is.
whenever that is. Should probably schedule that sometime. How about next week?
Works for me.
Okay.
Join us next week, and we will talk about something else kind of nerdy.
Yeah, probably Star Wars.
Or Shawshank Redemption.
Or Shawshank Redemption,
I
which
will
you're
try and watch
finally
it
going
this
to
week.
see. Yeah. And if you don't like it,
Then fuck yourself.
lie to me. Otherwise,
Or, yeah.
you won't be invited back in my home.
That's a little nicer than what I was going for.
Yeah. Anyway, bye.
Bye.
Jesus Christ seems super nice. I wonder if he saved me. I've been on the wrong side of a bunch of arguments lately. Mama, I'ma never come home again. Mama said there's nothing wrong with being happy trails. And Mama, I'm just feeling so alone. Mama says she's busy working, spending time with that other guy. Then Mama, I just wanna come home. Home is where your heart is, boy. At least you got a phone. Jesus Christ seems super nice. I wonder if you'd love me. How come I only wonder when I'm sad or really hungry? Jesus Christ, you're super tight, but don't expect much from me. I would kneel down, but I'm afraid that there would just be nothing. Praise to God and other things that don't make sense to puny minds like ours, designing roller coasters that almost always seem to fall apart. Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun? Ain't it fun knowing that one day you might fly through the sky, through the sun? Jesus Christ, you're super tight, but I'll write a song about it. About no one ever knowing, but always claiming they're about it. Press ignore on both sides that always claim to know that they're so sure. I'll just not be a fucking prick and enjoy the show. I said, I'll enjoy the show. And Father, I just don't know what to make of all these tiny specks with so much shit to fucking say. Father, I just hope that we don't fall apart and break. It'd be great if we didn't relive 1938 to 45. Now there's just nothing we could change. If I'm not a giant prick, does that just mean that I am saved? Jesus Christ, you're super nice. I know that you could love me, even if I don't go to church every Sunday. Jesus Christ is super nice. How could he let me burn if I'm not murdering people and smashing fucking urns? Jesus Christ, you're super tight. How could you let me burn? But if I go to hell, I'll grit my teeth and get to work.